You know, the most famous saying in the world of professional wrestling is never say never. And this week, absolutely proved that. Welcome into Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. We are live tonight, right after Monday Night Raw, on our YouTube channel. If you're watching the replay or you're listening on podcast, we appreciate that very much. But we want you to know we are live after Monday Night Raw every single Monday. So come be with us. If you haven't subscribed to the show, what are you waiting for? Please make sure you're doing that on whatever platform that you are watching. If you're watching on my personal Facebook page, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, or if you're listening, just make sure you're subscribed. I would appreciate that so much. My name is Chris Belcher. As you can see on the screen, follow me at Chris Belcher 24. You can follow the show at SQ_radio. We appreciate you guys being with us. Again, like I said, subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support us. Hit the thumbs up button. Like the video. I would appreciate that. A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whatever, that would be fantastic as well. If you are listening to us on WSN or on SportsWire Radio, thank you for doing that. Shout out to all of our partners. We could not put this show on without their support. I am running solo for the very first time. So if you don't like my voice, I'll go ahead and tell you to turn this thing off. I don't know what I'm going to say tonight. I have some notes. You guys know if you've been with us, you know that I have notes. I'll have some things to talk about. I just don't know what I'm going to say yet. I've not ever okay, let me backtrack. If you're following, you know that I host the Believe in Titans podcast regarding the Tennessee Titans and covering them through the season through Believe Podcasting. So if you're a Titans fan or if you're an NFL fan, go check out your favorite team's Believe podcast, wherever you find your podcast. But I've done that podcast solo for a little while now, but this is the first time I've done Squared Circle Radio by myself. I'm pretty sure. So it'll be a new venture. And if you guys are wondering, well, where's Andy? Where are the guys? Well, if you follow Andy on social media, you know that he and his wife had a baby last week. His wife gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. So Andy is taking some time away, well-deserved. And so congratulations to them. So that's where Andy is. So here we are. And I'm telling you what, Andy and I, over the last couple of weeks, we've really talked about how SmackDown is lacking in the entertainment department and the quality department, just all across the board. For all the crap that we have given SmackDown, this week they found a spark, and in a huge, huge way. And I was going to do a show right after SmackDown because I thought it was so good, and I wanted to jump on and talk about it, but I needed to do my due diligence because I wouldn't have been able to do it justice. And of course, I'm talking about the return of AJ Lee. We talked about it last week on the show with Andy. We speculated a couple of names that it could have been if it wasn't AJ, because it's been teased for a long time that AJ was going to come back. And fans have wanted it. That's the one we've all wanted. You know, after CM Punk showed back up in 2023 at Survivor Series, the unthinkable return, which we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But when this return happened, it was like, when are we getting AJ? When are we getting AJ? Because of course they are married. So when are we getting AJ? When's AJ coming? And we thought it would be the Rumble this year. You know, enough time had passed and the rumor mill was flying, but we got nothing until this situation with Becky Lynch happens and Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch costing CM Punk the fatal 4-way at Clash in Paris, and then getting in his face and getting physical. And that's when we knew, ladies and gentlemen, when we got physical, AJ Lee was coming back. And she came back this past Friday on SmackDown in Chicago in a big way. So again, I wanted to do a show on Friday after SmackDown, but AJ's big run, her rise to stardom, happened during my dark period from WWE. I was out from WrestleMania 26 all the way to Survivor Series 2014. And if you're tracking, WrestleMania 26 was Shawn Michaels' retirement match. Survivor Series 2014 was the debut of Sting. So I was dark in that period. Of course, I've gone back and watched things and I've caught up on a lot of things, but I was never really able to capture the magic of AJ Lee. Obviously, you don't have to be invested in wrestling to watch AJ Lee a couple of times and understand that she was ahead of her time. It was called the Divas division for a reason. And she was, I don't want to say she was the anti-diva, but she certainly was ahead of her time and was the greatest wrestler of that generation. She paved the way for Paige and, of course, the women's evolution, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, list goes on and on. But AJ Lee shared on-screen time with John Cena. She shared on-screen time with Kane, Daniel Bryan, Paige. I already mentioned her. So those are some of the most popular wrestlers of all time, not just that era. So, of course, AJ would get the rub from them. She became a record-setting Divas champion in that era. Again, the best women's wrestler of that era, and it's not even close. She wasn't a prototypical diva, yet here she was. So, again, I mentioned those people that she was shared on-screen time with as a way to say that not that she didn't deserve the rub or that she didn't deserve to be popular or anything like that. I'm just saying those were the stars of that era. Daniel Bryan was on the rise. It was the era of Super Cena. Paige was on a huge rise. So, of course, AJ was getting popular because of those things. She had the feud with Vicky Guerrero, Stephanie McMahon, the Bellas, just Dolph Ziggler. Who could forget that? So lots of good things that AJ did. But I say all that to say, I wanted to do a show this past Friday, but I needed to go back and I needed to learn more about AJ. I'm still learning about AJ Lee. Because again, that was my dark period and I missed a whole lot of good wrestling that involved AJ Lee. So, oh, look at this. Andy York in the chat. New baby girl and AJ Lee is back. The best week ever. Listen, in the York household, it absolutely is the best week ever. Congratulations, buddy. I appreciate you chiming in the chat here. But AJ Lee, again, back. I mean, it doesn't seem like she's lost a step. Doing her signature pose there on SmackDown this past Friday. There's a little comparison if you're watching on the YouTube channel of what it looked like back in 2014 versus what it looks like 11 years later. But AJ Lee's last match was the Raw after WrestleMania 31, and it was made official tonight after a promo back and forth with AJ and with Becky and Seth and CM Punk. The mixed tag team match is official for WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis coming up next Saturday. It's CM Punk and AJ Lee against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I mean, I know that John Cena and Brock Lesnar are going to be on this card. Excuse me. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. And all signs are pointing to Cody Rhodes also being on this card. But this could easily be the main event of WrestlePalooza. This is a dream match of all dream matches. Not just putting AJ Lee and Becky Lynch in the same ring together, 10 years later. But you have the history between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And then both of these couples are legit married. And so putting them together, again, Andy and I talked, I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week about how Becky Lynch feels about CM Punk and the proximity, guilty by association. You have to wonder the same thing with AJ Lee and with Seth Rollins because they worked together briefly before she left, and AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. And I know she said in the promo tonight that her and Becky could have been friends. I don't know if that was just, storyline or if that was legit. I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely weird, but it's awesome. It's really, really cool to see. So this tag match is huge. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be incredible. City Kitty chiming in the chat. Congrats to Andy York. Yes, congrats, Andy York and the fam. So yeah, I'm pumped for this, mainly because again, I missed AJ's run, so I'm excited to see what she's gonna do in the ring at WrestlePalooza. I fully expect her to get the win here. The Black Widow submission on Becky Lynch with the tap out. That just writes itself, in my opinion. The video package they showed tonight was really, really cool, recapping AJ's career and just the trailblazer that she was and what she meant to what she still means to the wrestling business. But as we're talking about tonight, you see on the screen on YouTube there, AJ is in the ring with that Women's Intercontinental Championship. So she brought that back out, threw it back at Becky Lynch. It was a great segment tonight, I thought. But a star of the show tonight, I thought AJ did really well. And I thought Becky played her part extremely well, especially with the big glasses and the black eye and the whole 9 yards. But ladies and gentlemen, Seth Rollins was so good tonight. Trying to play peacemaker in this whole thing. He comes out. Number one, his shoes were ridiculous tonight. I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but it looked like he was wearing Nike cowboy boots, bright red. And they were fantastic and ridiculous all at the same time. So those are ridiculous. But Seth Rollins was so good tonight trying to play peacemaker. And I've long said this. And if Andy York is still chiming in, or if he's sleeping right now, that's fantastic because he probably needs it. But he has been with me when I've said this, and he argues with me on this, but he's not here, and I'm going to say it. Seth Rollins continues to prove why he is the greatest performer of our generation. And tonight, I'm not saying tonight solidified it, but what I'm saying is just look back over the last 4 years. Look at it. He worked with Edge for several months in 2021. He was the guy to face Cody Rhodes when Cody came back in 2022. He wrestled twice at WrestleMania 40 with a torn meniscus. He's been dealing with CM Punk since CM Punk came back. And how incredible that has been. Now he's been inserted into this AJ Lee thing, and that's only the last 4 years. The common thread in all of these great storylines and great matches is Seth Rollins. And to me, Andy, okay, you're still here. Okay. One of. Okay. No. He is the true best in the world right now. Like, this dude's incredible. If you don't believe me, okay, 4 years. What did he do? A fantastic cash in at SummerSlam, has the greatest Money in the Bank cash in of all time. Dude could wrestle a broomstick. We say that about Shawn Michaels all the time. Dude could wrestle a broomstick and get an incredible match out of a broomstick. So, Seth Rollins, the best in the world. But I digress. This segment is not about Seth Rollins. It's about AJ Lee and this match that's going to take place. I just had to get that jab in there. So, AJ Lee back in the WWE for the first time in 10 plus years. It's the one that we thought wouldn't happen. She retired. She told her story a little bit tonight on Monday Night Raw, and she stepped away, accomplished some things outside of the ring, and now she's back. So, City Kitty in the chat missed AJ's run as well. Didn't really watch during the Divas era. Yeah, I mean, lots of good things that you need to go back and watch, and that I need to go back and watch as well. So I'm going to do my due diligence over the next week or so as we prepare to preview WrestlePalooza next week and talk about AJ Lee. City Kitty, Seth's closet is definitely better than Becky's. That's good. That's funny. Yeah, those shoes were incredible. I would wear those shoes. I'm just saying. They would be ridiculous. Very bright red. I would wear them. I'm just saying. I'm not a fashionista kind of guy, but I would wear those shoes. So, AJ Lee's return had me thinking about the greatest returns of all time. Now, I'm not going to make a top 5 list. Okay. I'm not going to rank all of these returns. If I was a good podcast host, I probably would do that. But again, this is my first solo flight, so I'm not going to rank them. However, I am going to talk about them a little bit because I think you have to take returns and split them into categories. And there's no doubt that AJ Lee's return is top 5 of all time. But I think her return is in a separate bucket than, let's say, Triple H's return at Madison Square Garden from his torn quad, or Super Cena's return from his torn pec, or something like that. I think it's a different bucket. I think injury returns are different because we know they're coming back at some point. We just don't exactly know when. AJ Lee, 10 years away, we never thought she would be back. I mentioned it earlier, CM Punk returning at Survivor Series after almost 10 years. Never thought that one would happen, especially because of how much he said in the media and, this, that, and the other, whatever. Never thought that one would happen, but he came back. So AJ's return stacks up there with those type of returns. When you talk about those type of returns, of course, the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania 33. Who can forget that one? Out of nowhere, one of, if not the loudest WrestleMania pop in history. These guys showing up, making a ladder match, a fatal 4-way, and winning the tag team championship at WrestleMania from seemingly out of nowhere. So you talk about those kind of returns. Who can forget, of course, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 38. The return out of nowhere. We all thought it would be Cody. We hoped it would be Cody. You just never know. And he returned. He came home. And now he's one of the biggest superstars. He's arguably the face of WWE. And he's the champion right now. 2-time Rumble winner, 2-time WWE champion, crown jewel champion, etc., etc., etc. So, Cody Rhodes, again, an incredible return. I wouldn't put it at number 1. Again, I'm not ranking these. I will tell you what I think number 1 is. But I don't think Cody's is up there as much just because we kind of knew it was coming. And you had to think, or at least I did, when he went off and he started AEW, that eventually he would find his way back to WWE in some way. Like he stuck out like a sore thumb in AEW. So his return's great, but it's not as impactful, I don't think, as AJ Lee's. Yes, City Kitty in the chat. Cody's return was massive. I agree. Totally agree. And maybe the way that this all shakes out, his return is even bigger once his career is all said and done. Who could forget? Let me throw one back way, way, way far. 2002, when Shawn Michaels came back from his broken back. And nobody expected that to happen. Nobody expected him to get back in the ring again. He was retired. Stone Cold Steve Austin sent him out to pasture at WrestleMania 14 with that broken back. But Shawn Michaels came back a changed man in 2002. Didn't anticipate getting back in the ring, but he did. Anticipated that being a one-off, but it wasn't. He wrestled for 8.5 more years, whatever it was. So, Shawn Michaels, huge, huge return from out of nowhere. Again, I'm talking about people who were long gone from the company, like AJ Lee and like a CM Punk. And one that a lot of people forget, 2016, Shane McMahon returning to Monday Night Raw out of nowhere. Nobody expected that one to happen. If you haven't watched the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix, number one, if you can stomach it, go watch it because it is quite sickening, honestly. But there's one of the parts zeroes in on Shane and talks about this return quite a bit. So I do recommend going back and watching that, because watching at least that episode reminded me of how impactful this return was, how awesome this return was, and how out of nowhere this return was. So Shane McMahon, incredible. But to me, number one on the return list, greatest return of all time, the rated R superstar Edge, Royal Rumble 2020. He's retired 9 years, medically disqualified, can't do it anymore. Broken neck, spinal stenosis, fusion surgery after fusion surgery, etc., etc. He can't do it anymore. But he came back. And forever, this will be not just the best return of all time, but one of my favorite moments in wrestling history is when Edge came back. So, again, AJ Lee, CM Punk, those returns, I think, are in the top 5, maybe even top 3. Maybe the top 3 returns of all time is Edge and CM Punk and AJ Lee. Of course, you could throw in Jericho in there. You know, you can do all kinds of those things. Austin, a lot of people might say Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 38. He was sort of always around, so I don't necessarily count that one. I mean, I guess you could, but I wouldn't count it. Roxanne Perez tweeted over the weekend that AJ Lee's return was the best return in wrestling, because somebody said best female return ever, and she said best ever. Again, maybe top 3, definitely top 5. I don't think it's number 1. I think number 1 still belongs to Edge. But all that to say, AJ Lee, the face of the women's division in the Divas era, is back in the WWE in 2025. A statement that many of us wanted to say for a long time, never thought it would be possible. But not only is she back, she is back in the ring next weekend at WrestlePalooza, teaming with her husband, CM Punk, to take on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch in a mixed tag team match. We will preview WrestlePalooza coming up next week. But coming up right now, let's take a little pause for the cause. Hear a little word from our friend, the Reverend Tom Bryce at SportsWire Radio.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, with great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows, New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska, the Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip, Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind, Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
I appreciate you, Tom Bryce, and your support for Squared Circle Radio. You have been waving our flag for a long, long time, brother, and we appreciate it so very much. And shout out to all of you who are checking us out, whether it is your first time or you are a returning guest. We appreciate it so much. This is Squared Circle Radio live immediately following Monday Night Raw. We will be here with you every Monday night. We will be here with you after pay-per-views. We are here to bring you the latest and greatest news in the world of professional wrestling. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us. If you haven't liked the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you haven't followed on the podcast platform of your choice, please make sure you do that. That helps us so much. It does not cost you a thing, but it helps us more than you know. All right, I mentioned a little bit ago that SmackDown was absolutely on fire this past Friday night. AJ Lee was not the only reason. Yes, Brock Lesnar returned. John Cena's last SmackDown, and Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins were all there. CM Punk was in his hometown, but AJ Lee got the biggest pop on Friday Night SmackDown. So an incredible show. But as I mentioned it, Brock Lesnar returns to Friday Night SmackDown to ambush John Cena following his match with Sami Zayn for the United States Championship. I will get to that match in just a minute because it is certainly worth talking about. We knew Brock Lesnar would eventually be back after he jumped John Cena at SummerSlam at the end of the night, shocking us all. He comes back, he jumps Cena again, and he says, "I'll see you at WrestlePalooza." The match is official. I mentioned Punk, AJ, Seth, and Becky could easily main event. I don't think you have this WrestlePalooza show going head to head on the same day as AEW All Out and not have John Cena and Brock Lesnar as the main event. Only time will tell. But John Cena retirement tour continues with Brock Lesnar. Another one that we could put on that list of returns that I just mentioned a few minutes ago of just out of left field. We didn't expect it. Brock, obviously, for other reasons, we don't know all the details, and I don't know any of us that care to know all the details of how or why Brock Lesnar is back in the WWE, but he is. This match for WrestlePalooza is set. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure, I would guess that Brock's going to give Cena a little bit longer of a match than he normally has given people. If he goes over 10 minutes, it'll be a miracle. And Goldberg and Gunther went like 18 minutes. So Brock, the bar is high for you, brother. Goldberg set the bar at like Goldberg set the bar at like 18 minutes for you, Brock Lesnar. So you're going to have to step it up. You're going to have a long match. I mean, you have enough respect for John Cena. Come on, Brock. You got to have a long match in Cena's farewell tour. I mean, come on. It is what it is, right? But Brock and Cena is set. Cena's going to be on Raw on Monday, live from Springfield, Mass. Brock is going to be live on SmackDown next Friday. And then, of course, WrestlePalooza is next Saturday. So we'll see what happens. I'm anxious to see Brock Lesnar cut a promo because we know that Cowboy Brock Lesnar with a microphone has been our favorite Brock Lesnar on the microphone. So I'm anxious to see if he gets some mic time and exactly how all that shakes out. Excuse me. Let's talk about the Sami Zayn match, though. John Cena comes out and cuts a promo talking about his career on SmackDown, his career in Chicago. He mentioned it. He debuted in that very building in 2002, beginning the Ruthless Aggression era against Kurt Angle, which he paid tribute to in the match with Sami Zayn. I'll go ahead and show that graphic there. He's starting to pay tribute to some of his past opponents, doing so with Kurt Angle there. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Edge spear that John Cena hit. Michael Cole trying to insinuate that it was Roman Reigns. He didn't say Roman's name, but Corey Graves getting in there and referring to Edge and making sure that proper tribute was paid. But John Cena cutting an incredible promo on SmackDown about Chicago and about his career. Sami Zayn interrupts and gets booed out the building. And obviously, there was no malicious intent there for him to interrupt Cena. Cena was done, and Sami came out and is now instituting, with John Cena's blessing, the Sami Zayn U.S. Championship Open Challenge. Cool. That's awesome. And he wants Cena to accept it. So Cena versus Sami Zayn, a match that I don't think we thought we were going to get on Cena's farewell tour. I mean, previous United States champion Solo Sikoa had beef with John Cena, even beat John Cena. So that would have been just a fine matchup. I hope they didn't put the U.S. Championship on Sami just to get to this Cena match, because, again, Solo versus Cena would have been just fine. But I digress. It was a really good match between Cena and Sami to open up SmackDown, and just some really good stuff. I'm anxious to see how Sami Zayn does with this open challenge moving forward, and I'm sure that there will be some guys coming in that he will want to give the spotlight to, and I'm sure there'll be some guys coming in that, like a Cena, like it would be a big name to challenge him. I'm looking at this graphic on YouTube right now, and I just noticed Solo Sikoa doesn't have side plates on those championships. I guess he won that in Paris, so maybe that's a different championship because they have TV championships, and I digress. Anyway, I got sidetracked. We'll see how Sami Zayn does with this U.S. championship. We speculated last week about him being a world championship contender, and if he could do it, and if this U.S. championship run is like a test run to see if he could do it. So I'll be anxious to see how that works out there. Swig a Mountain Dew for the working man. Let me pause 1 second. It is me by myself on this podcast. So got to take a sip. Got to make sure that we're all good, that we stay hydrated as much as the great Mountain Dew can hydrate you. We're going to try to stay hydrated here on Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate you guys being tuned in live with us on the YouTube channel. Drop those comments and questions in the chat. We are taking those. You drive the conversation. I'll talk about what you guys want to hear about. So if you got questions, you got comments, feel free to throw them in there. I will be happy to take each and every one of those. Otherwise, I still got some notes here. We can still talk about a couple more things. We haven't even touched Monday Night Raw from tonight, except for AJ Lee, of course. But let's talk about a couple of things from Monday Night Raw tonight. This is a Raw reaction show. We are live after Monday Night Raw for a reason. But, man, Friday Night SmackDown was just huge this week. And lots happened. They really turned up the heat on SmackDown, which again, Andy and I have talked about they needed to do, and they did it in a big way. But let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Kicked off tonight with the reunion of the Usos, not just the reunion of one of the greatest tag teams of all time, not just the reunion of the twins, of the OG bloodline, but the reunion of the brothers cooking people on the microphone. I mean, my goodness. Jimmy Uso, what he might lack in superstardom or appeal as a singles wrestler or whatever, dude makes up for it on the microphone. That dude has chops on the microphone. I would put him up there. I would love to see him go toe to toe with John Cena or with CM Punk or somebody like that on the microphone. Jimmy Uso can go on the microphone, and he proved it tonight. I mean, just a great promo, a fantastic promo. I mean, of course, Jay with his little quips in here and there, but man, Big Jim is so good on the microphone, calling out the Brawns and those guys in the talking about Seth Rollins, J&J Security, more like PB and J&J Security. It was fantastic. So good. So that being said, another match for WrestlePalooza made official tonight. The reunion of the Usos taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. So that's coming up at WrestlePalooza. But what happened tonight, I don't know. I got to figure out how I'm going to talk through this. This is my feelings coming out here, y'all. I mean, I wrote down what happened just so I don't forget, but this is my feelings coming out here, guys. So you had a little tension between Jimmy and Jay backstage where Jay left the arena and Jimmy said that he's starting to sound like Roman, being out there for himself, wanting everybody to acknowledge him, wanting his championship back, all those kind of things. And so Jay leaves the building. Jimmy goes and offers help to LA Knight, who's in the main event against Bronson Reed. LA Knight says, I don't want your help because Jay screwed me out of the world title last week. And then he even brought up the fact that Jimmy is the one that screwed him out of the world title when he faced Roman Reigns, him being LA Knight. Yeah. So LA Knight said, I don't want no help. Well, he gonna need it because the Brawns took him out, laid him out. Here comes Big Jim out to help, and then Big Jim gets laid out. But then Jey makes his return. Of course, you knew that was going to happen. If you've been watching wrestling long enough, you knew that he left the building, but he wasn't going away. He'd coming back, come out to save his brother, and then he gets beaten down. But then here comes LA Knight with a steel chair, cleaning house. And LA Knight says, Jey, he says, we good now? We good now? He helps up Jimmy, and it seems to be that they're good. And then Jey, boom, hits LA Knight with a spear. Like, what? City Kitty in the chat, the Usos cooked, but the tension is real. You're right, the tension is real. Like, are we witnessing one of, if not the most popular wrestler, one of, if not the top merchandise seller in WWE, just a couple of months removed from a Royal Rumble win and a WrestleMania win? Are we seeing main event Jey Uso turning heel? Like, what? Andy and I speculated over the last couple of weeks that it would be an LA Knight heel run, but Jey? Are we getting a Jey Uso heel turn out of this? Or is this just Jey trying to figure out what Jey needs to be doing? You know, like, is Jimmy should be here to help him right the ship and figure it out. But what are we seeing here with Jey? Like, I have so many questions when it comes to that. I have so many questions. Obviously, we know that it doesn't work to have a heel and a babyface as a traditional tag team. One of them is going to have to go back with the other one, or, is Big Jim going to turn? I don't know. The Usos were always, I think, better as heels because they were able to cook people. Well, we saw them cook tonight. So I don't know. I don't know, especially with Roman being a babyface, the biggest babyface in the company. And again, I just mentioned that unprecedented run from Jey Uso from Rumble to WrestleMania. It's well documented in the WWE Unreal series. Go check that out on Netflix. And then afterwards, go check out in our archives the episode that we did about WWE Unreal. Cheap plug there. I'll try to link it up here. If you're watching on YouTube, watching the replay, I'll try to link it up there. Yeah, try to do that. Anyway, all that to say, what is happening? Not very often has Monday Night Raw left us with cliffhangers, with questions. Because most of the time it's going to end in a beatdown. Somebody's going to save the day, or somebody's going to get laid out. The heels are going to stand tall, or Roman Reigns is going to come out and clear the ring. That's what it's been over the last several months, even dating back to SummerSlam. But now we have some real questions. We have some intrigue. We don't know what's going to happen. Is something going to happen at WrestlePalooza between the Usos where they start fighting and Roman Reigns makes his return to unite them? Is that going to happen? Very possible. Roman Reigns right now is left off the card, but I just have a hard time believing that WWE is going to do their first PLE on ESPN, and they're going to build this huge card and this huge show on the worldwide leader in sports, and you're not going to have Roman Reigns on the show? I have a hard time believing that. Plus, the Usos are going up against the Bonbons. That's the guys that laid out Roman Reigns at Clash in Paris, so it makes sense for Roman to come back there. Maybe that's my prediction. I'll save my official prediction for next week on the preview show for WrestlePalooza, but I like where my thought process is going here. Roman Reigns, get the Usos on the same page. Now, as far as Jey's page with LA Knight, I have no idea, but get the Usos on the same page. That's important. All right. Let's talk about two more things for Monday Night Raw tonight. Number one, got another iteration of the Bayley promo. We didn't get it last week. We got another one tonight. The voices in her head are getting stronger. The split personality is getting stronger. We saw her literally go in and out of it, because what we've seen so far is the voices talking in her head. So every time both voices come up, she puts her hand over her ears and she closes her eyes and she tries to breathe. But tonight, as she was talking, it was like the other side came out. She kind of looked off to the side, and this heel side came out. So, oh, okay. We're uncovering layers here. It was so funny. Corey Graves on commentary said that Bayley could benefit from some of AJ Lee's friends in therapy, which AJ talked about in her promo tonight. That was hilarious. So, a little bit uncovering with Bayley. I'm anxious to see when she comes back and what happens. Speaking of commentary, speaking of Corey Graves, lots to be made about Wade Barrett not being on commentary. On social media, everybody was saying, oh, it's Nikki Bella this, and he's in trouble that, and he's benched for the foreseeable future. And Wade took to social media himself and said, no, this is a couple weeks off. I was playing for a long time. I'll be back. And then Corey Graves on commentary tonight saying, I already was in exile. So having fun with it. Joe Tess, though, on Monday Night Raw. So he is sticking with it through the college football season. I'll be anxious to see. Hopefully he doesn't get burnt out like Pat McAfee. Of course, McAfee has a daily show and all these things, but hopefully Tess can stick it out through college football season and he'll be okay. The move to Monday probably works better for him, obviously, than Friday, but we'll see how Tess does. The other thing that is starting to make waves online, and I'm sure the wrestling fans are going to speculate about this from now until we hear more from AJ Styles. But apparently, during a commercial break tonight, of course, this was caught on Netflix internationally and posted all over social media. AJ cut a promo, even referenced by Corey Graves, about how there was somebody that didn't want him here. And he was all fired up because somebody didn't want him in the WWE. And that Meechin's gone and that Gallows and Anderson are gone. And there's nobody there to watch his back. A lot of people online speculating that he's taking shots at Triple H. He's taking shots at the boss. Triple H doesn't want him here. Hey, maybe Triple H gets back in the ring and he wrestles one more match with AJ Styles. I don't know if he's talking about Triple H. He may have. He may not. But if I had to take a guess, I would say he's talking about Paul Heyman. Now, why he would cut this promo and call out someone specifically not wanting him here, I don't know. But I would say it's Paul Heyman. Because AJ and Heyman have had beef in the past, having to do with Gallows and Anderson and those kind of things. I would say that it's Heyman. That if he's referring to somebody specific backstage that does not want him there, that has any kind of power, any kind of pull whatsoever, I would say that it's Heyman. Because I don't know many people who have said anything bad about AJ Styles, the way he behaves backstage, the way that he treats people, the way that anything like that. Like, I don't think there are people that don't want him here. I think this is going to be some sort of storyline. Andy's still hanging with me in the chat here. AJ Styles versus Nick Aldis would be generational. It would. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, give me that. We know that AJ posted a graphic on Twitter of an hourglass. His time's running out. He's not going to be much longer for the WWE world. So these dream matches that we're going to get with AJ, we better start checking them off. Nick Aldis would be a good one. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that this promo is not storyline driven because you knew that someone would capture it and run with it because it was during a commercial break. The same exact way that Triple H knew that fans would film Kevin Owens turning on Cody Rhodes outside of his bus after Bad Blood. They didn't have any cameras there. They knew that fans would grab onto that and that social media would take on a life of its own. Maybe that's what's happening with his AJ Styles promo because Corey Graves referenced it when they came back from commercial. And then AJ Styles referenced it in the backstage segment with Dragon Lee and Jimmy Uso. All of those things to me point to storyline. So we'll have to see. I don't know. We'll have to see. That being said, that's going to put a bow on this edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We appreciate you guys being with us. As I mentioned earlier, next Monday, we will preview WrestlePalooza. We will give our official predictions and our thoughts as to what's going to happen. SmackDown next week, or SmackDown this Friday, is loaded up. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. I anticipate Cody Rhodes coming back. I'll go ahead and put that out into the universe now. Jade Cargill getting a shot at Tiffany Stratton in the Women's Championship again. As I mentioned earlier, Brock Lesnar is going to be there. So it will be a loaded SmackDown. Once again, let's see if they can hit another home run. I don't know if it'll happen or not. You're not going to have AJ Lee returning, but we'll see if they can hit them a home run this coming Friday. We appreciate you guys being tuned in with us, whether you're watching live, whether you're listening on the replay, whether you're watching the replay, all of those things. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on whatever podcast platform you have chosen. We would appreciate it so much. My name's Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us. We will catch you guys next Monday for another edition of Squared Circle Radio. Yes, City Kitty, as we're out, Drew and Randy on SmackDown. She's here for it. And the return of Cody Rhodes. I know you're here for that too. All right. We appreciate you guys being with us on another edition of Squared Circle Radio. And until next time, we'll catch you guys down the road.